Aloha, welcome to the West Maui Taxpayers Annual Meeting. This is the 40th year. Hallelujah, 40 years. Come on. Do you believe that? I know 40 years ago we had a couple dozen people in a room in the Pili Kai Beach Club. And for the next several years it never got more than a couple dozen. But we slowly, gradually increased and increased and increased, and we've done a lot of things over the last 40 years, which we're very proud of. And it's not a one-man show, although I've been there all that time, 40 years. And what a pleasure it has been to be serving the community. You know, if you want to feel good, help somebody. Let me just put that out there. You want to feel good? Go out and help somebody. It's amazing what that does for you. You know, when you're out there in service helping other people, it just comes right back, and it really makes you feel good. So I feel great, and I thank God for that. I just thank God for that service. And the willingness of other people who help others, and here they are right here. Our board of directors, the West Maui Taxpayers. We've got Joe Park, Lee Chamberlain, Greg Nelson, Richard Jarman, John Seabart. Give them a big hand. Thank you. These guys are volunteers. We all get paid a lot, you know, zero. And but we couldn't do anything without them, and we've had other fantastic directors over the years, in this last 40 years. A lot of them are no longer with us. And so I'm going to take this moment, just a very short moment, to just kind of recognize what we've done this year for the very first time is to put up on our website. westmaui.org is our website, and on that website we have what's called a Wall of Honor. Just started up. It just went up this week. And what we're doing, started off initially with 3 members who were fundamentally responsible for so many wonderful things that happened to the West Maui community. Unfortunately, they're no longer with us today. But their memories and the work that they did for us continue to be visible everywhere you go, you know? And we're going to add to this list, but this is just an initial list, okay? We're starting off with the guy that I first met, Jack Millar of the Pili Kai Resort. He's the one that started that, Jack Millar. And when I came to Maui in 1979, one of the very first guys I met, him and Jack Ruggles, who's an Air Force, who was Winston Churchill's private pilot in the war, and Jack Millar was also a British pilot. They fought in the war together, and they had incredible stories. But they instilled upon me how lucky I was to be in Maui, and how much they wanted me to help them make Maui no ko'oi in the west of Maui. And Jack had started the Honokawai Pili Kapalua Taxpayers Union, and said that he wanted me to be in charge of membership. I said, I'll do that if you'll change the name to West Maui Taxpayers, because I said, I'm having a hard time pronouncing Honokawai Pili Kapalua Taxpayers, and you're leaving out all of Lahaina, so Kanapali's left out, so can we include that, make that change? He said, yes. So 1979, that happened 40 years ago, and we've been the West Maui Taxpayers ever since. So Jack Millar, this is going in as a representative. You know, Greg Nelson is the general manager there still, and everybody who knows Pili Kai knows how special that place is. Greg's keeping it that way. The Millar family did, Dorothy Millar, Jim Shefty, and now Greg. Fantastic legacy. The other person I want to honor is James Mac Lawson. Those of you know Mac Lawson, James, I call him Mac. One of the other first guys I met here, and he was president of the West Maui Taxpayers for many years, and he was always fighting for representation, what we can get best for our community here, make sure that efficiency in government and so forth and so on. And he helped in transportation. We were filming all our traffic backlog from Kapalua all the way to Olawalu and showed how it was back to back. We needed the highways widened and so forth, and making sure that the real estate community was supporting us and the things we were doing for adequate property taxes, getting a return on investment. So I told Lori about that, this was happening today, and Lori, are you here? She didn't come, but I'll make sure she gets it, but give a hand for James Mac Lawson. Finally, Uwe H. Heinz Schultz. Uwe was what an amazing man. He was another one of the first guys I met in Rotary. He, with me, I've been in Rotary now for 40 years. I'm longer than anybody else, I guess, in Lahaina, in Rotary. But service is the whole idea, the object of Rotary, being in service. And Uwe Schultz was right there in service as an architect. He did so many things for free for the West Maui community. He designed the floor plans for our Pili Fire and Ambush Station, the architecture. Then I think then Mayor Lingle said, if we build our own fire and ambulance station, then she'll put it in the budget for the county to operate it. She says, it's never been done. You think you can never do it? I said, with God's help, we can do all things. So we went out there and do it. He did the plans for free. He did the plans for free. So many other wonderful projects. And he also, like me, had to put a second mortgage on our homes for the Bank of Hawaii to give us a construction loan because they said, we don't believe you'll be successful. So we wanted to make sure our money's safe. So he put a second mortgage on his house, so did I, and Ron Karahara, Ron's not here. But with that, the Bank of Hawaii gave us the loan. We started going, and then everybody saw, oh my God, it's really going to happen. And it's been saving lives ever since then. Uwe Schultz, his family is here. Pam Schultz and his son, Alex, are here. And Alex's wife, I'd like to have Pam, would you please come up? Or Alex, somebody come up and take this. Stand up there, get a big hand. I miss Uwe. He did so many wonderful things, and everybody who's been around and knows what's happening in Lahaina, nearly half the things in Lahaina were designed by him at no charge. Although he did charge for a lot of things. The Whalers Village, he designed the Whalers Village. He charged for that. He charged for the Front Street Apartments. He did the Front Street Apartments plans and designs. And Pam, this is for you. God bless you. Thank you so much. Okay, well, we've got more that will come on that wall, but that was just a first time we're going to start because we want them to continue to live even though they're not here in the physical world. We know where they're at. And they're looking down at us really happy now saying, it's about time, Joe. Okay. Thank you. Please give my board members another big hand, and you can have your seats, guys. Thank you very much. Our meeting is the envy of everybody who's ever been to association meetings because our business meeting portion lasts about 10, 15 minutes. It's a little longer because I just did this little thing. But we basically have got to satisfy our bylaws and charter, which means we have an election of directors. We sent out proxies. Those of you members got those proxies. We had returned more than the adequate number of proxies to have we a quorum to officially meet our legal requirements and the election of officers and directors. And what I'd like to do is to have a unanimous ballot cast for these gentlemen that were just up here for re-election. And can I have a motion to that? So moved. Is there a second? There's a second over there, Joseph. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Carried. Hallelujah. That's fantastic. Give yourselves a big hand. And you see, wouldn't you like to have your association meetings run like that? Wouldn't that be great? Well, that's how wonderful it can be. So, you know, we satisfied the legal business portion requirement of our meeting. And everybody, so our official annual meeting is now adjourned as far as the official business portion of the meeting. Now we're coming to the part where there's a fun part, and that is for hear our speakers. Very first on the list, we Leah Belmonte is not here. She was going to try to make it. I guess she didn't make it. Okay. Then we have Senator Rosalind Baker, 6th Senate District. Senator Baker, would you please come forward? While she's up here, I wanted you to know it was at a West Maui Taxpayers Annual Meeting that she was on the community, and she stood up and was talking about all these things that should be. And we said, why don't you run for politics? Hallelujah, she did. Isn't that great? Ross, God bless you. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Nice to see everybody. What a great crowd. I never know whether people are coming for the food or they're coming for the program, but hopefully it's both. But it's nice to see you. Angus and I both were sworn in yesterday to our respective offices. Yesterday was the opening day of the legislature, so a lot of pomp and ceremony, but he and I are both very delighted to be able to serve you. I'm fortunate to have a 4-year term. Our representatives only have 2, which means he's got to run shortly. But we look forward to continuing to work for you, advocate for you, and do the things that bring money into West Maui, whether it's for highways or for other kinds of activities, things that are needed in our community. I wanted to just talk a little bit about a couple of bills that I've introduced that I think will benefit the folks here. We've requested that the Department of Transportation develop a strategic plan to address the coastal highway erosion also known as Hanoa-Pi'ulani Highway, to address both specific issues happening today and to plan for mitigating effects of climate change related to sea level rise. We know there's some areas on that highway now that are being eroded, and we need to have a comprehensive approach. If there are ways we believe that it can be moved Malca, but there may need to be some other mitigation. So DOT is going to be asked. We have the funds in the budget to do that, so to ask them to do that strategic plan so everybody knows what we're doing and they can get on with spending the resources that are required to make it happen. The other program that I'm really excited to share with you, in case you don't know about it, and that's called Keiki Healthy and Ready to Learn. This is a program that makes sure that in our schools, elementary schools, middle schools, high school, and we do have a program up at Lahaina Luna that serves their feeder schools, that gives them the resources to help more kids stay in school. It provides, sometimes it's an advanced practice registered nurse, sometimes it's an additional health aide to make sure that the kids have their screenings, that their vaccinations are up to date, the other kinds of things, that they're, getting nutritious meals and getting their exercise. But it's a way that on the school campuses, our young people's health can be monitored, and particularly for any of those that may be taking medications, to make sure that they're done in an appropriate and timely fashion. I know that some of you may be interested in our medical cannabis law. For those of you who don't know, we passed a number of years ago a measure that allows cannabis to be used for certain debilitating conditions. We have 2 grow sites on this island. We have on the Big Island on Kauai as well as on Oahu. And so there's a dispensary down in central Maui near where the Safeway and the Longs as you go into the new section of Mailani, yes. Kehalani is the road, I believe. At any rate, you have to, of course, be a 329 card carrier, which means you have to be a registered patient. But there are a number of folks on Maui that are and need their medicine, and so I'm delighted that we have that available for the folks that need it. The other thing that we've introduced, and the reason I mentioned the medical cannabis program is there is concern that we don't want people to smoke. I'm one of the biggest anti-smoking advocates around. And there are other ways that you can use the medicine. There's lozenges, there's salves, and that sort of thing. But we've also allowed, with this legislation we're considering this year, transdermal patches. And so that's another way that that particular product can be administered. There's a bill going through looking at edibles, but I will tell you that's going to be a little bit more contentious than the other ones were. Another bill that we put in that I think is going to be important simply because it gets rid of something we don't need. How many of you think that we really ought to continue to have our cars inspected annually and have to pay to get it done? Not many. Most of those inspections, they go in and say, toot your horn, turn your lights on, pump your brakes, and that's it. Oh yes, got to put your blinkers on and your windshield wipers. That's it. So we have measures, I think, in both House and Senate to eliminate those inspections. I mean, why not save the $10 or $12, right? It's not really helping you anyway. The other thing that I think is going to be very important, and it's one that we've needed, I think, for some time. Some of you may know that in the last few years, on an annual basis, if you have prescription drugs that you don't need, whether they're opioids or other kinds of prescription drugs, you've got them in your cabinet, you don't know what to do with them, don't know where to dispose of them. We've had annual take-backs. So there's a way to safely dispose of them, because we don't want them in the garbage. We don't want them down the toilet, because those things can get into the water and obviously contaminate. So we don't want that disposal. So we've had annual take-back programs. Now we're going to be instituting a year-round program. So at the police stations, they're going to have a container that you can go in and just deposit them. And no questions asked, no anything. The only thing we're asking is you just use it for prescription drugs and not anything that's over the counter. But that's something that I think is going to really be a help, because lots of times folks go to the doctor, they get a prescription, they don't need all the pills that were offered, or maybe they make them sick and so they stop taking them. But we really want to get rid of them, because you don't want them in a medicine cabinet if there's children around, other kinds of folks that may be thinking, oh, well, that looks, because some of these opioids are bright red, looks really tempting for folks. And so we don't want those temptations around if they're not needed. So that's going to be coming forward, and we already have the CVS pharmacies and some of our small independent pharmacies willing to participate with that. The other thing that's interesting, hopefully for all of you, is we're putting in a measure that's going to ensure that folks will be able to testify at legislative hearings remotely. Make it seamless, make it available, so you don't have to come into Honolulu, you don't have to sort of figure out how you're going to get it, a fax machine, or you're going to scan it or something. And it allows the committee the opportunity for back and forth with whoever is on the line. So I'm looking forward to having that bill move forward. The other thing, just to note, I talked about the coastal mitigation. We're also looking at other kinds of improvements, funding other kinds of improvements to our intersections and highway facilities. And Representative McKelvey and I were both made aware of a new wrinkle in the continuing saga of how we're going to make sure that Keawe Street works for everybody. And so we'll be talking with our good buddies in DOT to make sure that they address it, because none of us exactly know why they did what they did. And it doesn't make any sense. There are ongoing projects in the highways, our signal modernization, Pi'ilani highway improvements. That's on the south side in the vicinity of Kulani Hakoi. That's where the intersection is going to be for the new high school over there. And we're also looking at some realignment phase 1B2 in the Hokiokio to the southern terminus. So some of those things are ongoing, and we look forward to, I know I speak for both of us and say we look forward to continuing to work with you. Send us an email, call my staff, call the office. There's a toll-free number. I think it's on all of the handouts that you have. And let me call your attention to two that I put on the back. One is our website. I hope everybody here is familiar with the Capitol website, www.capitol.gov. You can submit testimony from that website. You can see what others are saying about the bills. You can find out when the hearings are. You can read their testimony. You can read the bills. And it's also a way you can contact us. So there's a lot of information on there. And this really just is a little cheat sheet on how you can use it and some of the features that are there. The other thing that I wanted to share with you, this is a position of the Hawaii State Senate. We adopted sustainable goals from the United Nations, and this is our little brochure that tells you what those are and what some of the actions are that we're taking to try to make sure that we address climate change. We look at sustainable food production and energy and housing and all of those other things that really make a community vibrant and alive. So thank you for the opportunity to share with you some information. I'll call up my counterpart in the House, Representative Angus McKelvey, and then after Angus speaks, maybe there'll be, with Joe's permission, there'll be an opportunity for some Q&A. Rep. McKelvey?
Thank you. Aloha, everybody. How are you doing tonight? Thank you, Joe, for putting this on. Thank you for the cow. I brought with me a flyer. If you haven't gotten one, we'll have some available afterwards. I like to joke that this is everything you wanted to know about the ledge, but we're afraid to ask. And what it is a compilation of stuff from our public access room showing how the legislative process works. It has a copy of the calendar. It has an explanation of the deadlines in the calendar. It also has how a bill becomes a law. And then in there too is a green sheet with all of the numbers of both your Maui legislators as well as legislators that serve as chairs and members of the various committees where bills get to, go to be decided. There's also a page on there on how to use our website, which is a great tool for not only staying abreast of what bills are being heard or what things are happening, but also to be able to submit testimony on the fly. And like Senator Baker said, we have a House companion for basically creating an ability for neighbor islanders to testify via video stream at the committee hearings, which is super important because often our neighbor island people get lost in the shuffle of having to come over to Honolulu. All the Honolulu guys have their people there front and center. We should be able to have the same thing. So I just co-signed the bill today. The other thing that we're looking at this year on the House side is on the marijuana end, we're putting together possibly a task force to look at what other states and Canada is doing to stay ahead of potential legislation from the federal government. One of the bills that looks poised to pass, though, is a decriminalization bill this year. I think there's about 30 signatures on the measure right now and counting. So I think that when we can stop putting people in jail all the time, taking up our prison space for something that is an addiction and not a crime, it's going to help everybody. So that's something that I think is poised to pass. The big issue, we just had a chairs meeting today going through all the priorities. The big issue of concern is the federal government shutdown. One of the most sobering facts that was delivered by our Human Service Chair today is that people in February aren't going to receive their SNAP payments, they're not going to receive their Section 8, and they're not going to receive the rental assistance monies. The State Department of Human Services has pulled monies, unencumbered monies from other sources to pay this shortfall for the month of February. But they have said to us that come March, if the shutdown is not resolved, there is no way under the present monies they have to be able to supplement it at all. And as the chair said, and I agree, we're going to see a lot more people at the hospital, a lot more people who are homeless, a lot more people relying on our social safety net because of this federal government shutdown. So this is something that we are committed to try to shore this up, but at the same time, it's sad we have to hold the bag for Trump in this stupid border wall stuff that's going on. I mean, I'm sorry, people are going to suffer from this. The hammer blow will hit the hardest, and it's not just that, but you're starting to start seeing sick outs at TSA. We have airlines, I was told, that are mothballed. Planes are mothballed right now because they can't get federal FAA inspectors to sign off on the timesheets or on the certification. And it's going to go to other areas too, the Coast Guard, everything else. And of course, so this is a severe impact and something that we're wrestling with right now. But it's something that, is really sad that we're at this situation, we're at this position. As Roz said, managers retreat, I talked about it all summer long. It's a critical issue. We have several bills coming out from the House side. One not only, which is a companion to the Senate measure focusing on the Honopi'ilani Highway and putting together a multi-jurisdictional task force, but also one for statewide. This is an issue that's affecting neighborhoods and communities all over Hawaii. And there's greater strength in numbers. It's part of the majority packages here. I think by working with everybody else around Hawaii who's experiencing the same issue, not only with public infrastructure, but how do we develop a plan for those who live on the ocean? For those, how do we develop a plan of being ahead of this issue so we're not facing the seawalls over and over again and the effects that they have? So this is something we're very aggressive about. Other things we're looking at is, we have several bills coming forward. On one bill I'm excited about is looking for a GET exemption for prescription drugs and mobility devices and hearing aids for seniors. You like that one, don't you? And then finally, public access, beach access has always been a passion of mine. Growing up as a little kid, getting to the beach is something that I kind of took for granted. And now we're losing it in droves. And one of the things that happens is you have, especially when new subdivisions are built, existing public access ways that are either basically closed off or they're not maintained. So I'm sure Mike Victorino will be thrilled about this one, but we have a bill that's going to mandate that the county either take the public access right away and maintain it and keep it open, or designate an entity of the subdivision to do it for them, so that the accesses not only remain, but they're maintained, and we don't have to say, oh, the tree just grew, sorry, you can't go to the beach anymore, you're not allowed. And that hurts everybody. And I hear people, say, well, our visitors, well, a lot of visitors don't just go to the hotel beach, they go everywhere. But this is about quality of life for all of us. Finally, and one other thing is a farm loan bill. The fires really brought this to a point that our farmers, when they do get agricultural loans, they have to start paying it back immediately. Like, they get the notice, congratulations, you got a loan, there's no check, but there's a bill. And so when the fires especially impacted the farmers, they're all of a sudden without product, without business, and they're still having to pay this back. We managed to get a temp abatement from the Department of Ag, but we need to put more money in the ag loan program, but we also need to give them a 3-year period in which to pay it back, so that farmers can actually get crop and production going and get the business up and running before they're all of a sudden having to pay out, before they even have anything done yet. So these are some of the highlights that we're working on. We look forward to working with the county. We really need the county's help in being the tip of the spear, if you will, on trying to move things forward. I'm working with Councilman King on an affordable housing bill for the Maui-Lani area. And in discussing it with her, I said, if you guys, local governance is, home rule is the key. If you guys lead, if you guys put the permits in place, then we will come with the funding to support you. But it has to be done from the ground up. It has to be done with the blessing and the input of the community. And so I'm excited about this bill with Councilman King and about some of the other measures the new council's working on where we can be partners with them at the state level. So again, as Senator Baker said, hopefully we can get some questions answered. Thank you so much for being here. If you want to grab me after we're done with the general Q&A, I'll be right in the back, probably bothering those good guys over there. So mahalo, aloha, and thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thank you, Angus. Now, did I understand you correctly that you guys wanted to do a Q&A? Is that what you said you wanted to do that now? What? Okay, well, if you're not in a rush, why don't we do the politicians first? And then we'll go through, and then before we come to the other community presentations, we'll have a Q&A, okay? And right now, I don't know, Pastor Lucky's here. I wear another hat. I'm president of Church on the Go, and Pastor Lucky's our senior pastor, and he's an awesome man. Those of you know he's been doing things. We always like to start our meetings off with a prayer. Pastor Lucky, would you come up here, please, and give us a prayer? It's better late than never, right? It's never the wrong time to pray.
You don't need a mic. Makau, kami kapu, ele makau lua. May the Lord God bless you and keep you. May God's face shine upon you and be gracious unto you.
And may God lift up his countenance upon all of you and give you peace, prosperity, and pleasure of what he chose you to be. For it is written, let your light shine so men can see the works God chose you to do. We're here in celebration of acknowledging 126 years of the overthrow of our monarchy, Queen Lily Okalani. But her heart was full of God's love. And like the Lord said, Lord, forgive them. They don't know what they do. If you're going to make a change in this life, being the annual Christmas Santa Claus, the Lord had to deal with me. You know what ho, ho, ho means? I said, no, but I guess you're not going to tell me. You repeat after me. Ho, ho, ho means? Ho, ho, ho means? Hearts open. Hearts open. Hands out. Hands out. Helping others. Helping others. Listen, Maui Noko Oi is the best. And we ought to let the rest of the state and the world see that we have plenty aloha. So you repeat after me. Aloha means? Aloha means always. Always. Love. Love. Over. Over. Hate. Always. No more Hawaiians. No more aloha. But no more akua. No more love. God bless you. Aloha.
That's awesome. Isn't that awesome? Well, now, carrying on with, where's my little program here? Oh, God, I got my, who's next? Oh, yes, of course. It's always good to have a prayer before the mayor comes up. All of us, you know, I've had the privilege of knowing our new mayor for many, many years, like many of you have. You know, Mike's been a member of the community. He's been out there serving the community as a volunteer before he got in government. He did the fair forever. I mean, the Maui County Fair, you just think of the Maui County Fair, you thought of Mike. And there's so many ways him and his wife, Jocelyn, have been of service to the community before they even got in politics, and then if they got in, they never stopped. They kept on doing all kinds of wonderful things. So I'm just really excited that he's in the seat he is right now. I'm very confident that he's going to do a great job for all of us. I know his heart's right. He's got a Hawaiian heart, and he's also got the heart of the community. Mike, please come up, give him a big hand. Our new mayor, Mike, take your hand.
Aloha, everyone. Aloha, everyone. I just want to make sure everybody's up. I want to say, first of all, thank you for inviting me to your West Maui Taxpayer Association meeting. I've been here many times as a candidate, as a council member, now as your mayor. And I feel very honored. West Maui has always had a special place in my heart. I worked out here for over 30 years. McDonald's in Wainehe. Remember Lahaina Square? I mean, some of you too young, you guys are even born since they've left. And then remember the Wharf Cinema, Minimac downstairs. I managed that. And I worked at Kanapali Ali for 22 years, at the West End for almost 7 years. I have a lot of roots out here, family, friends, and more importantly, the well-being of this community. You know, I was blessed. In a matter of 4 days into office, I had a brush fire over in Oluwalo. Come driving out, and there's this big brush fire, helicopters putting water on it. I'm like, okay, here we go, Lord. And then the next day, coming back, Greg, from your place at Napilikai, having dinner with my lovely wife, I get told that there's a small fire in Wailea. Small fire. Couple acres, that's what I was told. So I said, okay. I get on the phone, I talk to my emergency management people, I talk to my managing director, I talk to my deputy, I said, get down there, do what you need to do, get me updates so that when I get across the mountain, if I need to, I come down. Well, I didn't even get across the mountain. I came by Oluwalo, Okumihami, and you can see go straight out to Mokena and Wailea, and asked my wife. There was a big glow out there, and that was no little fire. And at that point, I got a call also saying that they're evacuating Hotel Wailea, condos next to them, and maybe some more would be evacuated. So my poor wife, and I thank her very much for always sticking with me, I said, Mom, I'm not taking you home. You're gonna go with me down to the fire. And so we straight down to Wailea, stopped at the Kihei Community Center, made sure it got open. So within an hour of the notice of the major fire, we opened up the Kihei Community Center for our evacuees. I want to thank the housing, the hospitality industry right now. Many of the hotels down in Wailea, like they've done here in West Maui, opened their doors, made facilities and rooms available to our guests that needed facilities. So let's give them a big hand, because we don't recognize this. They do a lot of great things, and when called upon, they step up to the plate. Too many people think that the hospitality industry is something that doesn't belong here. Well, I hate to disagree with that. They are a big part of our community, not in the areas of jobs and economic growth and all the other stuff, but as part of this community, and when we call upon them, they're there. So I get down to the emergency, I leave the Kihei Community Center, and I head over to the fire itself. I get stopped by the first policeman, comes around and says, "Sir, you're not supposed to be in this." "Oh, Mayor, I'm sorry, I didn't know it was you." I said, "That's okay, you're doing your job, and I'm proud of that. Can you let them know I'm on my way so I don't get stopped anymore?" And he said, "Okay, I'll let them know." So I went up, and they let me right through, went to the fire, met with the battalion chief who was on site at that point, asked him 3 quick questions. "What do you need? What can I do? And I'll get the hell out of your way." And he said, "I need tankers." "Fine, call, get Public Works, get whatever tankers are available, get up here. I need D9 dozers." Call Goodfellows, again, another good community partner, construction, but they're there when we need them. They said 2 D dozers up and a tanker truck. Within an hour and a half, with all this equipment coming up, they cut fire breaks, which if you had been there and if you've seen some of the pictures, without those fire breaks, I want to say Hotel Wailea might not be there today. I want to thank our firefighters, our emergency responders, police, all of them, and the community to step up again. Let's give them a big hand. Really important. They did it here in Lahaina. Yes, there was some loss of homes, but we didn't have one injury, or major injury I should say, no loss of life there, here, and we had big fires. It was a big fire. And so I want to thank them more about their professionalism. Our council member from West Maui has been in ocean safety for many years, and I know she's come. I want to congratulate her, not only for what she's doing now, but what she's done in the past and what she continues to bring to the table. Let's give her a big hand. This is what Maui's all about. When the time of need, we're here to work together. We forget our ethnicities, we forget our religious beliefs, we forget our economic, we forget our differences. We come together to work. And all of you here tonight have been a part of that, and I want to continue to promote that. It's never been about me, it's always about we. I said that throughout the campaign, I say that every day in my life. Everything I do is for the people of Maui County. Everything I want done is for the people. When all these groups come to see me for whatever issue that is, the one thing they hear consistently from my mouth is, does it benefit the people of Maui County? Because if it doesn't, thank you for your time, aloha. Oh, there you go, there's my notes, see? By the way, you notice I don't read my notes very much because most of my notes and highlights come right from here. I've always had it in here, and someone told me the other day, "Mike, you just know a lot." No, it's here that tells me what to say here to tell you or to address you. So with all of that being said, and living in one of the best places in the world, do we have any problems? Raise your hand. Okay, that's enough hands. Put them down. I knew that was going to happen. We have challenges. And yes, I met with the DOT yesterday, and we are discussing now what we can do, not only to line up the highway from Cut Mountain south towards Okumihami, and move it up so that we can, know that we'll be able to get our roadway properly in a place where tidal surges and rising sea levels are not going to be impacting. That's important. That's the only highway in and out of this community. And if you try to go back through Kakalo, you'll know what I'm talking about, and I've done that many times. You know, in the 30 years I worked here, I went back home. Oh, at least a couple, 3 dozen times when there were fire accidents, shut down, and the only way home was through Kalakaloa. But I don't think that's something I want to promote. It's too narrow, too dangerous, and a lot of things that I really don't think the people of Maui County need. So with that being said, we're going to work very diligently. We have funding, and I want to also say this. Our House and Senate members, I think it was Tuesday night, we had dinner. I paid for it. I paid for it. Right, guys? I paid for dinner. Right, Angus? But it was my treat. Because you know what? I got a chance to sit down one-on-one with all of them and talk story. You know what? Their concerns are our concerns. What happens in my county and what I have to do and what I need to do, they're willing to help. And I wanted to know how I can help them do their job better. And I think we came to some reasonable and really good conclusions on how we can all work together. It's not about me again, it's about we. And they're a big, big help. So let's give them a big hand because they bring a lot of bacon home for us. Thank you. And let me say this, we don't all agree but we all agree to disagree, and we all work together. We're here for you, I guarantee that. So with that being said, we know there are many, many issues here in West Maui. I guess that's the road, number one, I guess that's the thing. Housing, number two. But we know there's also another challenge to build housing out here, is water. Ms. Bolton understands what I'm talking about, and many of you in this room know. Honokau intake has been damaged severely from the last storms. We've got to spend money and time. I met with our department today. I've met with the State Water Commission. I'm looking to find ways of funding it, cleaning it up, and keeping it so that the people of West Maui have a dedicated source and to be able to start building out here, because with no water, we can't expand, okay? We have a lot of water that we can use from our waste treatment. We have programs right now set to get started next year, pumping that water up, putting it in a reservoir, and then bringing it down for hydroelectric, as well as fertilizing green zones so we can reduce the amount of fire hazards we have. Green zones, if you don't know, I've got too much papers. Green zones is where we take R1 water, bring it down, and lay it across an area, and keep it nice and green. It's not dry. And make sure that it's now a mitigation for fire. But more important, the water goes in and percolates. It's just like rain. It gets into the ground, percolates, ground acts as a filtration system, and you get potable water coming down into our aquifers. This is natural. There's nothing unusual. It's done all over the world. How many of you know that in Singapore, today, 35% of all the potable water is based upon reused wastewater. 35% of the water they consume comes from that source because they have no other sources, including desalinization. It was something that they started 40 years ago and have worked towards. The people today don't even think twice about it. So we can't do that, but that's years down the road. What I want to do is now make these green zones so that we don't have water, a fire hazard, where the water is percolating and recharging our wells, our aquifers, as you say, and not being injected into the ground and going out and degrading our ocean and our reefs. Simple. But all this takes some money. And so, as I went through the campaign, I told you I'd really work hard not to raise taxes. Didn't say I wasn't going to work hard raising fees. It's tricky, yeah? I'm a tricky dicky in that one. But you know what? I will always tell you, if I raise a fee, what the benefit to you, the community, is. And if you don't want it, you tell me no. And we won't do it. Our budget will be coming out soon. We're working on keeping everything as close to the best as we can to keep your expenses or your portion of what you need to pay at a bare minimum at best, okay? But we do know that some of the expenses are going to go up no matter what we try to do. We got some funky things we got to work on, but we're going to take care of it so that in the near future we won't have these kinds of problems. But then we have the other issue, affordable housing, affordable rentals. Part of our whole mantra here. We need not only to build, but we need to take action to stop what has been changed here, like Front Street apartments, etc. Okay? And so along with the state, I know they've been instrumental, and I want to thank Angus and Roz and others who have been really at the forefront. And now I'm making sure that we're at the administration going to be in the forefront, that it's not going to, adversely affect and impact you, the renters, and any of the future developments, other future developments that we're putting together. It's important we all work together. So I need your help. I need you at the table. I need you speaking up. Speak up in a respectful manner, but speak up. Don't sit back and hope somebody else will do it for you. God helps those who help themselves. I've always been told that. My parents always told me that. I kind of figured that's the way it is. Roads, housing, homelessness, issue all over this county, all over the state, all over the nation. But let's focus on our homeless situation here. We need hygienic centers, and we're looking at 4 or 5 locations right now that we could produce hygienic centers. Hygienic center is on the lower floor, or in one area, you have where they go and they get cleaned up and they get checked, and all the different hygienic, dentistry, all that would have people there. With the government shutdown right now, the federal government is making it hard for us to move on, but we need to get the facilities ready so when that becomes undone, Angus, and that dummy up, never mind, I don't talk bad about nobody, releases the money and let's get the government back working for the people, we will then be ready to take on that. The state has put money forward for these projects, affordable rentals, homeless rentals, homeless facilities. So I'm looking at the community college, in the dorms that used to be there. That's one of the areas. I've got 4 or 5 out in Central, Kihei, and out here in Lahaina, areas that we're, because it's got to be government property, by the way. It has to be state or county land that these facilities are built on. However, Kahulaki and his people came to see me today about tiny houses and some areas where we can do that, not only in West Maui, but Central and other areas. So we're going to be looking at that and moving that. And my response to them and to the administrative people was simply this: do it. Don't talk about it, do it. I'm tired of talk. I want to walk. I want to see these buildings built. I want the people off the streets somewhere that has some dignity, respect, and somewhere they can call home. At the same time, taking care of our seniors out here. Halimaola wants to expand. Well, I'm looking for some land for that. I want to do other things that make sure that you in your years, your golden years, which I never figured out what golden years mean because I pay more money for doctors and doctor visits. And whoo, I tell you, the doctors make the money, not me, But anyhow, maybe I'm wrong, maybe all of you don't have that problem, but I sure have sometimes. But really, all joking aside, your golden years should be years that you have to worry. Transportation, facilities. We have the Lahaina Honolulu seniors that served us, so now let's give them a big hand because they are such a great group of people. And I'm proud to say I've been a member for 13 years. They let me join when I was a little younger than 65, but don't tell them I said that. Shh. I kind of fudged on my age at that time. But no, they're a great example of a group that not only helps the community, gives back, is down at the harbors, dancing, entertaining, helping promote the culture and promote our citizenry, but they're out there taking care of their own and making sure your golden years are the best years of your life. So again, let's give them a big hand, ladies and gentlemen. I'm looking at also this year putting a study together. I want a fire station or at least a substation in Olawalo. I really believe it's necessary. This would be for ocean safety, for fire, and for an ambulance there. We have many major accidents, we have other issues out there. Not that we don't have on the other side, but you got Napili, you got the Lahaina Fire Station. After that, the next fire station is where? Kihei. The next fire station is Kihei, or maybe a little closer is Wailuku, but that's it. There's nothing in between. So I think it's time we look at Olawalo and putting something there, along with Haiku, which is another big populated area that has no fire protection or no emergency services. So I'm bent about making emergency services one of them. Oh, you can tell I'm dry. Thank you, my dear. Excuse me, everyone. Thank you very much. You know, so emergency services must be readily available and made as close to as the areas that are needed, and make sure that when something happens, we don't have to be driving 15 miles to get there. You know, so I'm working on all these different plans, which will be part of my budget. Some of these studies will be part of my budget, and I will hope the council will support and look in and help me do this. Help me also in the area of working together in other aspects, affordable housing, affordable rentals, tiny homes. Right now, in Wailuku, we have probably about 400 units that are going to be are being built right now. So I'm happy to see that. But all of the communities need it. West Maui needs it. South Maui needs it. It's not something just for Central Maui. So I need to ask also our hospitality initiative, for which I formed a group to work on some of these issues, to be a part of, and have them to help us be at the table, along with the environmentalists, along with the contractors, along with the building industry, and all the other services that we do here in Maui County. Because you, the people, are what we need to build for. You, the people, are what we need to provide for, so that you can live here and raise your families here, and for your seniors to enjoy the quality of life, so that your children don't move to Vegas or somewhere, and they can be with you and enjoy your years here on this earth. Finally, our West Maui Hospital. A sore subject, yeah, I know. Joe started me on this before he even got on the council in 2005, 2006, and I've been chasing that ever since. There were times I thought we were this close, we had it. And for one reason or another, whether it's finance, governmental regulations, whatever, it never happened. This community deserves, will get a hospital if it's the last thing I do. And we're going to keep working at it, right, Joe? Right. We're not stopping now, okay? But we need your help. We need you to keep helping us with petitions. Keep the governmental entities, whether it's state, county, whoever, to help us make a hospital possible. We need really need it here. Because you and I both know, no matter what happens, if you're in a major accident, a major health issue, a major challenge, it's 45 minutes to get to the other side. And that's with a good day and no traffic. And I think Tamar can attest to that. You know, you don't get there very quickly. So I believe even our council member, all the council members cannot disagree with that. We need it, and we've got to work towards it. So we're going to keep Brian and the rest of these guys, keep their feet to the fire, and keep trying to help them in every way possible. I think I've said enough tonight. There's so much more. I could stay here for another hour, and I think most of you would get kind of bored after a while. I see a couple of them yawning already, so I'm kind of feeling bad. But that's okay. This administration is all about customer-oriented service. We were here to help you. My directors, my deputy directors, my staff have been told that every meeting. And if you don't take care of the customer, you don't take care of the client, you don't take care of our constituency, you're not going to be with me very long. Trust me, baby. I'm not one too afraid to say goodbye. I've watched Donald do it all the time. You're fired. Got it. I'm tired. I'm tired of not having service for you. Now, I don't blame anything. I'm not blaming anyone, because a lot of county workers do great jobs. Many of them, the vast majority, are fabulous in helping our consumers, our customers, our constituents, whatever you want to call them. But we can up the game. We can do a better job. So I'm committed. My directors and deputy directors are committed. I hope the council sees that when they go ahead and start their confirmation hearings next week. Do their due diligence, listen to them, hear their heart, hear them talk through me, hear them talk, because they're going to do it. It's a new time. And if they don't, I'm not hesitant to say goodbye. It's all about you, the people. We're here to serve you. And if we can't do the job, hey, maybe I got to get out too. You know, seriously. We're here to serve you. And so I'm going to close with this one prayer. And this one, not prayer so much. I end most of my talks with something of this nature, because I really believe the late, great coach Jim Valvano from North Carolina State said, close to his dying days, right? Laugh every day. Laughter is good. Think every day, because when you think, things happen. And cry every day, because that is one heck of a day to live each and every day. Remember that, ladies and gentlemen. God bless you. Aloha and God bless. Aloha to all of you. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Now, that's a very inspirational way to close that. Now we got tomorrow, yes. And, you know, our next speaker, council member, new council member, Tamara Paulton. Please give her a big hand. Tamara.
Aloha mai kakou. Aloha. So we just had our swearing in on January 2nd, and we took the oath of office, and we organized our council. For those of you that don't subscribe to the newspaper, Kelly King is our new chair. Kiani Rollins Fernandez is the vice chair, and Tasha Kama is chair pro tem. This past Friday, we decided on our committee assignments. I will be your chair for the Planning and Sustainable Land Use Committee and vice chair for the Water and Infrastructure Committee. I'm a voting member of the Governance, Ethics and Transparency Committee, Economic Development and Budget, Multimodal Transportation, Healthy Families and Communities, and Agriculture, Cultural Preservation and Environment Committee. I did request to be on the Affordable Housing Committee, but it just didn't work out with the 7-member committees, but that doesn't mean that I can't still sit in and participate in the discussion, and when matters come to the full council, I can vote at that time. I think I will also be on the Maui Metropolitan Planning Organization, and one of the priorities on that is, like the previous speaker said, about from Cut Mountain to the southern terminus and all those areas that are under threat of sea level rise. You know, when we have the king tides or the south swells and monk seals are up on the highway, it's kind of a sign that something really needs to be done as soon as possible. When it's too late, it'll be too late. And I think, you know, in the last storm, they were really afraid that West Maui could get cut off for months if that road was damaged. So we need to take action on that. I'd like to invite all of you to like my, if you're on Facebook, to like my council member Tamara Paulton Facebook page. It has some poi on there, which are points of interest, and another one of the priorities that I have is to get through the community plan process, and so we'll be posting up some information. I wanted to kind of semi-introduce one of the future speakers is Pam Eaton here with the Department of Planning, right here in the front row. And she works with the county. She's not a developer or a consultant, just want to make that clear. And we've been meeting with her, a small community group, for like the past year or so. And I have come to understand the process over that time, and I really have a lot of trust in the work that she's doing. I think they're doing the best job to be objective and to really capture the essence of what the entire community wants to see within the parameters of what they're allowed to do. They can't just make any kind. There's things that needs to be done by the Maui County Code and the charter, and so within the framework of that process, I really believe that we're getting super high quality work, and they're doing the best job that they can to include everybody's vision. She'll share more. I don't want to steal her thunder. She'll definitely share more about the process and how you can get involved. I'm really stoked to see a couple of the members from the council's community plan advisory committee picks in the crowd today. So I think we have a really diverse representation of our community that most all aspects are represented. We're just waiting for the mayor's picks to come down, and then we'll know the full 13 community plan advisory committees. Another issue you might not know, from the Planning and Sustainable Land Use Committee also oversees the Maui Emergency Management Agency, which I had the opportunity to work on after our natural disasters in, I believe, August and September, the fires out here and the flooding. And along with fire and public safety, MEMA also needs support. They have like maybe 6 staff and no budget. So, after we had the fire, after we had the flooding, one of the biggest things people needed was roll-out dumpsters and portable toilets, because people want to start cleaning up right away. And you have all that debris and rubbish from the fire, you have all that debris and rubbish from the flood, and you have a lot of community support coming out, but it doubles the work if we don't have the dumpsters ready to go. It's not a sanitary condition if the portables aren't there. So, it went from people just piling things up one weekend to the next weekend, then moving things from the pile into the dumpster, which could have all been done at one shot, but they don't have a budget to station dumpsters or contract portables. So, that's some things that I would like to see in the budget as well, like a little bit bigger fund for them to address, the planning for the disaster, the staffing for the disaster, and then the recovery for the disaster. There's all important components for our community to have access to. And along those lines, also big props to Mr. Joe Pluta for bringing the HARP process to us, and where, first we identified natural disasters, hurricanes, tidal waves, and then we started to pool our resources, and he and Major General Oliveira and the community put together a really good plan, and it would be great to see that also incorporated into our community plan. So, I got cards, if anybody wants cards with my name and number and email, and I don't want to take up any more time from the presentation, so thank you so much for inviting me and having this dinner and meeting, and I'm anxious to hear more about the presentations.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Emma. Awesome. We invited her in our West Maui Taxpayer Board meets every second Tuesday of the month. We've been doing that for the last many, many years, and for her to come and sit in on those meetings, and so we can have direct communications with her. She's thinking about doing that. That's increasing our communication. And the mayor's office has got Alan Fukuyama. Alan's here around here somewhere. Oh, there he is back there. Invited Alan too to come into our West Maui Taxpayers Board meetings. Is there an echo on this thing? So the whole idea is communication. Our idea of why we exist is, again, representation. We're volunteers. We live here. We want to represent our community. I know everybody in this room loves Maui. There's no question. And loves West Maui. If you live in West Maui, you know you love West Maui. And it's just such an awesome thing to know and meet. It's a small community, but we've done mighty things in this community. We're a cash cow in this community. We support the state of Hawaii. More than 50% of all the revenues the state of Hawaii gets comes from Maui County, comes from Kaanapali. Kaanapali is a cash cow. Ross Baker represents it, and so does Angus. And Ross also represents the other part, Wailea, which is the other part of that. So when you combine those two together, I think Ross gets a lot of attention when she speaks because of the money that represents her district, what she brings. I've known them both for a long time. They've got one of the hardest jobs there is to, when you go to a meeting in the state and you see that how many votes did they have in Oahu, how many votes do we have in the committees? I mean, it's like, it's impossible. They've done literally the impossible in many ways for us. So please, again, give them another great big hand for what they've been doing with us. The fight's not over, but together we've already done things that they said couldn't be done. When they said we couldn't get a certificate of need for the hospital, well, we did. Now we've had a lot of things that have happened. Who expected all the banks to go bankrupt? Who expected that? Who expected the whole world to be wondering if we should all start learning how to speak Chinese? Because we might not be American anymore. They owned half our country. I mean, it's unbelievable. General Motors, everybody going bankrupt. It's just unbelievable the things that we've gone through since that time. But we're still here, okay? We're still here fighting. Anybody who survived all that are survivors. We've gone through a long way. It was a long way to go, but geez, with God's help, we can do it. So we got a lot of work ahead of us. We got some great presentations talking about Pam Eaton. The West Maui taxpayers' health and safety has been our biggest thing, besides the hospital. And I'm so sorry that today I get an email from Brian Hoyle who says, unfortunately, Joanne Johnson Weiner, who was on his board of directors, who was going to represent and speak as an authorized representative for him because he couldn't make it today, was going to give us an update. And now she's taking care of her husband. And I'm so sorry. He's got a terrible problem that she's helping him with, and our thoughts and prayers are with him and her as so she can't make it. So they asked us to remove this subject off the agenda. There you go. So we're not going to have anything about that, and that's unfortunate. I hope that at the Kaanapali 2020 meeting, which I've also been attending for the last nearly 20 years, we're going to have an update from his board. Howard Anzawa's on the board, Gwen Haraga's on the board. They'll be there at the Kaanapali 2020 meeting in January 28th, and we'll see that our members get posted on our website updates. So look at the westmaui.org. If you haven't monitoring our website, please consider it. We communicate, we've got a lot of information on there, and we'll let you know what the latest is on that update. We're just going to take a real short break now for those of you who want to use the restroom, and we're going to set up time for Pam Eaton, who's going to give us a presentation on the, you don't need it? You don't have no presentation? Oh, you don't need the PowerPoint, okay. So do we want to break or we're going to keep rolling? Keep rolling, okay, good. We'll just keep rolling. Please join me in welcoming Pam Eaton. Pam, please come up here. I can tell you, when did we first meet, Pam? It was about 6 months ago? When you first came to my office? 2 years ago. 2 years ago? Oh my God. Is everybody like me? Is time just going like that? Oh my God, 2 years ago. Well, she was starting getting input. She wanted input and see what's going on. And her style and everything that she was doing I was so impressed with. She wanted to connect the dots between what's going to be in the plans and make sure that it's incorporated in the budget too, so that the plans could have money attached to it so it could actually happen. What a concept. So I was so impressed with her and her style and all the meetings we've had, the West Maui. I love their tagline, "We are West Maui." She got pens, "We are West Maui, we are West Maui." I love that. Every time I hear West Maui, I love it. And the dedication of her staff, all the meetings we've had, the professionalism that's there, is be optimistic. Really, I think we got some good things coming in this plan, and the update will all be, the whole community be a part of it. Appears that the council selected me to be one of them to do that, and I'm honored and thrilled to do that. It's going to be a lot of work, but I'm excited about it. And to tell us all more about that is now Pam Eaton. Give her a big hand.
Thanks, Joe. And you know, I don't know how many people get the opportunity to do this, but Joe is tireless. He has done so many things for West Maui, and he's quite frankly been an inspiration to me. I've met with him on many, many different fronts, and I need to thank him for all his support. On the heels of, yes, absolutely. One quick thing on the heels of Mayor Victorino talking about Jim Valvano, who happens to be one of my longtime heroes, North Carolina State basketball coach, even though my college defeated them, Georgetown. But anyway, he is my hero. And one of the things that he captured and he claims that I think is one of the greatest quotes, which I actually think is Winston Churchill's quote, but it went with Jim Valvano. And I think it's very relative to what I'm about to talk to you about. And his quote goes, "Never give up. Never, ever give up." So I say that to you because 2 years ago, when we came to West Maui, we were confronted with a community, and I'm sure what happened in any community on this island. Think about who was elected at the national level, the way of our politics, and quite frankly, I think this is nationwide, massive community disgust, frustration, and distrust, which I completely understand. So our getting involved in updating the West Maui Community Plan is not simply taking the 1996 Community Plan and changing the words. It's about, number one, making sure the community is fully invested in this entire process and making sure we have your trust, because we will get nowhere if we don't. So with that said, we started out by taking a look at the 1996 plan, going through it, saying what was relevant, what was not, what had been accomplished, what had not been accomplished, Why had it not been accomplished? We met with about 50 to 60 individuals throughout West Maui, just people like Joe and others who have longtime ties here and giving us ideas on issues and other people to meet with. And we kicked off in 2017. August 2017, we had our first open house. How many people here actually went to that open house? Shivo, absolutely. He has helped us a huge amount. And so I want to thank folks because we have had over 35 meetings, open houses, and workshops. And one of the things that we did, pull out your cell phone. How many people are going to hear a speaker say, pull out your cell phone? You guys are looking at me like I'm nuts. All right, so don't pull out your cell phone. But let me tell you this. There is a website, wearemaui.org. You can pull it up on your cell phone. You can pull it up on your computer. It will tell you everything we have done in the past. So every single presentation, every single meeting, every ounce of input we received from the community, every piece of public education we provided is on that website. More importantly, we had many surveys. The surveys and results are on that website. And right now, there's a survey that I really want people to be involved in. So what I basically want to let you know is so far, we started in August 2017 with public outreach. That was the first step in this process. We've had over 12 to 17 meetings and workshops and open houses dealing with infrastructure. So we had a panel with the directors of water, wastewater, sewer, and roads. Talk to the community about the issues, and we had over an hour of Q&A answering questions. We had another workshop where we had the director of the Hawaii Department of Transportation talk about Honopilani Highway and the Maui Bus and Hawaii Tourism Authority, a panel going up and talking about all the issues West Maui is facing in terms of roads and congestion and traffic. We had an open house on community design. What's happening to your neighborhoods? Where do you need sidewalks? Where do you need parks? Are you losing the character and design of your neighborhoods? We had a workshop on housing. We had some of the local developers on a panel come and talk about the challenges they feel they're facing with housing. We had a workshop on the impacts of sea level rise and climate change and where that's impacting West Maui and what we plan to do about it. And we had a workshop on cultural and historic resources. All of those workshops were videotaped and all of them are on wearemaui.org. The Q&A was captured on wearemaui.org and every single presentation that was delivered is captured on wearemaui.org. So I encourage you, it's not too late to get involved. Please take a look. Right now what we're doing is we're working on a vision. So between now and January 21st, you have an opportunity to go online and take a very simple, fun survey, important survey about your vision for West Maui. So the Maui Island Plan basically dictates, it's sort of the overarching planning document for the island of Maui, the island of Maui. The West Maui Community Plan digs deeper. So the West Maui Community Plan is critically important in that it addresses those issues that are particularly acute to West Maui, as well as long-term chronic issues. The planning time frame is 20 years, so it's very, very important to get involved, and I think the vision is critically important as it really pertains to West Maui. So if you go on wearemaui.org, there's an online vision workshop between now and January 21st to create a vision. The other thing that's on that website are technical resource papers. So we developed, over the past 6 months, we've developed 10 technical resource papers. And what those are very informational papers that address specific issues as they pertain to West Maui. So we have a paper on water. What are the issues in West Maui with specific regard to drinking water? What is going to happen? What do we need to address? What do we need to deal with in terms of policy and implementing actions? We have an issue on stormwater and drainage. We have a technical resource paper on that. We have a technical resource paper on housing. We have one on economic prosperity, one on climate change and sea level rise, and one on wastewater. So if you go to the website right now, you can download all those papers. To be released very soon is mobility and multimodal transportation and transit. That's a mouthful. Basically, bus opportunity, where do we need bus? How can it benefit us? Absolutely, to the airport. You want that, Becky. Multimodal transportation, bike paths, multi-use paths, sidewalks, those types of things. and mobility. Not just in terms of the ability to walk and bike to a store or anything like that, but also in terms of how it benefits your health. So we'll have a paper on that. We'll have a paper on land use and community design, a paper on cultural and historic resources, and finally a paper on the recreation network in West Maui. So these papers were written with the best available data, the best available information. We had the county departments involved, as appropriate state departments involved to make sure we were accurate on the most cutting policies, issues, and so forth. Those papers are the basis of the community plan in that, depending upon a particular issue, whatever that particular problem or issue is, the goal of the community plan is to take a look at that issue and identify it, and then how can we address that issue, either through a policy or through an implementing action, and then that's what goes in the community plan. So that's, you know, just because you read it on social media doesn't mean it's true. So we're putting out, yeah, I know, shocking. So we put out these technical resource papers to provide some factual information on the various issues affecting West Maui. What is coming up are community design workshops. So these are very, very important. This is kind of the heart of the community plan. So we have updated the community plan land uses, so they reflect 21 first century planning and so forth. So it looks at the community plan designates what are the community plan land use designations within the projected growth areas. So we will have public community workshops on February 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. I have flyers on these workshops that tells you where they are and so forth. I'll leave them out there. I also, again, this information's on the website. We'll have press releases in the Lahaina News. And so these are very, very important in that it really focuses on these specific areas within West Maui and what you want these areas to look like in terms of change, what's needed in these areas, and so forth. Finally, yes, so the final thing is, so between now and probably the end of March, don't quote me, we too are waiting on CPAC. We don't know the finalization of the mayor's 4 picks. We're waiting on that before we can really get things rolling. The other thing we're waiting on are these community design land use workshops, because what we want is the community input on where you want changes and what these community plan land uses are that you want to see in West Maui. With that said, and all the input we've received over the last year and a half, almost 2 years, that will be going into the community plan. We are, by charter and ordinance, required to produce a draft. The Planning Department must produce a draft to be sent to the Community Plan Advisory Committee. So a little bit about process. The CPAC will start once they receive the draft. The CPAC, according to ordinance, has 6 months to review the draft. Every single CPAC meeting, which by the way, it's their meeting, they elect their chair, they elect their vice chair, the planning department staffs, we are simply staff to CPAC. They run the meetings. There will be public testimony at every single CPAC meeting. Tons and tons and tons of opportunity for public testimony and involvement. So the community plan will be with the CPAC for 6 months. At the end of the 6 months, we take the draft back with all the changes and so forth, incorporate the changes made by the community and the CPAC. Then it is by charter required to go to the Maui Planning Commission. The Maui Planning Commission reviews it. Again, public meetings. And by the way, all the CPAC public meetings will occur here in West Maui. They will occur here in West Maui. I want to make sure everybody knows that. I cannot speak to the Planning Commission. I'm not sure yet how that'll work. Hopefully they'll be here in West Maui. Then finally, after the Planning Commission has reviewed the document, the Planning Department takes it back, incorporates those changes, and then it is submitted or transmitted to the County Council. So the West Maui Community Plan will be heard in tomorrow's committee, the Planning and Land Use Committee, so they will take this and they will review it before it's then transmitted to the full council. And full council is supposed to have up to a year. And that's the process. So it is not too late. As Mayor Victorino said, God helps those who help themselves. So please, please, please get involved. This community plan has more meaning, as we've learned over the past 2 years, as we've seen a huge amount of involvement. One of the things that I have to do is to sort of track the web analytics in terms of the number of people that are going on our website and getting involved. We have over 10,000 users on our website. So please, please, please get involved. It is not too late. And I think right now, if you do nothing else, please, please let you not only can vote on the vision, and you'll see how it works. It's very user-friendly and very simple. You can add ideas. You can add concepts. So it's very user-friendly. So please get involved. I want to thank Tamara because she has been absolutely fantastic. She's attended almost every single event we've had. And there's a number of people here that I'm looking at that have come to a lot of our meetings and a lot of our workshops. And I also want to thank those CPAC members that are here. I see a couple of you guys. You're going to have a lot of work. So I thank you ahead of time for all the time you're going to be putting into this effort. And with that, I'm done. And thanks so much, Joe.
Thank you very much. Well, we're just moving along. You know, this is our whole idea of having these meetings is to give you information. Are you getting some good information here? Can I hear some feedback? Do you think yes, no? Are you getting good information? That's what it's all about, right? Because we got to get communicated with, and we got to understand what's going on, and that's been our role, try to spread that word around. So our presentations that we had to give us more updates have been reduced somewhat, so we're going to keep on rolling. Brian Hoyle, of course, will be here, and no hospital update. The Director of Housing and Human Concerns also, I had a meeting with him this morning, and he still is the acting. He's not official, I guess, until Wednesday, William Spence. We had a great meeting. I've worked with him many years in planning before. I've got a great amount of confidence in him, in his current position with the county and housing, and I hope that he gets confirmed. I really hope that the council does confirm him in that position. So he won't be here. He's giving a lottery tonight. You know, those of you who don't know, the county, thanks to the mayor and the council, they have this program. First-time home buyers get a chance. There's 30. How much money's out there again? I forget how many. There's a big pot of money out there for down payment for first-time home buyers. That a lot of people applied for that, and there's a lottery pick tonight. That's where he's at. He's on the lottery picking out numbers of who's going to be selected to be able to get, I think, up to $30,000 per person who's picked, as up to that, not guaranteed, but up to $30,000 each for to assist them in buying their first home on Maui. So that's a program, very exciting program, and he's pulling numbers tonight. That's why he's not here. But back to health and safety. You know, Colin Yamamoto spoke to our Rotary Club. He's the retired chief of ocean safety in Maui County, updating us on the rescue tube projects. Those of you people know about rescue tubes? Have you seen those yellow tubes that are out along the beach? Have you ever tried to save somebody in the ocean? I've lived here a long time, and it's threatening. It's like they try to drown you, not on purpose, but you know, they're so panicking. So the person who's trying to, you know, you're trying to save them, and they're trying to climb on you. Oh my God, it's terrible. I almost drowned a couple of times helping other people. And if I would have known about rescue tubes, had rescue tubes at that time, I could have avoided that problem. And he's going to tell us a lot about that rescue tube project and what he's been working on. For those of you who don't know it, the state of Hawaii and the ocean is an incredible place. It's a dangerous place. There's some West Maui current areas that are just very, very dangerous. I've been in. I love the water. Been in the water a lot. And Black Rock has got the second most drownings in the entire state of Hawaii at Black Rock at Kaanapali. I mean, that's pretty alarming. And there's another one by the Kaanapali Shores, or the Kaanapali Embassy Suites right up there. There's another dangerous rip out there. Those are the two most dangerous spots of mine. But he knows all about it in detail, and I think Tamara does too. Please join me in welcoming Colin Yamamoto.
Hello, thank you for having me. So I'm fortunate to have Joe invite me here to speak to you. He was at a Rotary Club meeting where I gave a presentation. He asked me to speak, and so that's why I'm here tonight. So since we haven't had a break, I'd like to start off showing this 25-second video. If you can touch on it. So, oh, you gotta go back. So this is a popular swimming spot in East Maui. And one of the dangers besides the ocean is our rivers.
Sorry.
And I just using this as an introduction in that besides the ocean, we also have to be careful of our rivers here on Maui. So ever hear of a flash flood? Well, now you're gonna see one and it's gonna be only about 25 seconds. See that white stuff coming down? Take a look at that. So if you're swimming in this popular swimming pool, when this water comes down, you're basically dead. So people think that they can hear the water coming down and they can swim to the side. I can tell you right now, it's not going to happen. So if you're in the river, when this happens, you're dead. Okay, so the reason why I want to show this to you is take a look at Maui here and look at how many people visited the beach. 97% of visitors to Maui visit the beach. 97%. And how much of them visit the beach 4 times or more? 44%. And the reason why I'm showing you this is basically I'm trying to tell you that visitors go to the beach very often, and that's why we need to keep them safe. This is statewide data, and I just wanted to show you that we're averaging 68 drownings per year, and only 4 years ago, that average was 56. So now we're up to 68. And the other thing I want to point out, look at this rising trend here. And it's a long story, but you see this dip right over here in 2016? That's actually not true. It's a long story, so I'm not going to get into it, but it's not true. So it's an increasing trend. Okay, so this, if you break down all the drownings statewide, this is what we have. Notice the visitors and our residents. But the main thing I wanted to show is, I know they break it down who's different nationalities who's drowning, but this is what I really wanted to show right there. So if the per capita, per 100,000 residents are drowning this much versus visitors are drowning this much. So my point is, visitors drown on Maui 72% chance of drowning versus residents only, 28%. So 3 out of 4 drownings on Maui is visitors versus Oahu and Big Island, it's 55% visitors and 45% residents. So Maui and Kauai, for whatever reason, visitors are drowning a lot more on Maui and Kauai. So this is a very interesting, this is still again statewide data, and right after this I'm going to show you some Maui data. But now I have data to prove that visitors do not pick opihi. Because 0 drownings, visitors 0, versus residents 15. Okay, you see that right there? But the other thing I want to show is right here. Look at the snorkeling. Out of 183 drownings, 170 was visitors. Okay, the question was, do you know if they had full mask? That in itself is another presentation that I can, but we won't have time tonight to discuss it. Yeah, but that's a whole new presentation. And they break it down. So basically, if you add up motor vehicle crashes, falls, homicides, and aircraft crashes, it's still less than drownings. That's how much people are drowning in Hawaii. This is Hawaii data. Now I'm going to bring it home to Maui. And this one is a little old. This data is a little old. Notice it's 2015, and you notice Pu'ukekaa in front of the Sheraton has 19. And this is, like I said, this data is a little old, 2015. But the reason why I wanted to show this is basically, notice where all the red dots are. That's basically all your hotel area on west side and your hotel area on the south side. That's the red, which is visitors. And guess where the blue is? That's your opihi picker and shoreline fishermen, which makes total sense, okay? Okay, this one, I just want to show you here, right in our backyard, in front of the shirt and Pu'ukeka'a. And this data is from 2006 to June of 2016. Okay, June of 2016. And just in July of 2016, we had another drowning at Pu'ukeka'a. But my point right here to showing this slide is, where is it? I don't see, maybe it's on another slide. But basically, you see this 21 here? 20 was visitors. 1 was a resident. That's my point. And interesting, we finally have data that 43% had existing heart disease. That's something that we never could prove before. Now we know that. The reason why I want to show this data is, look, here's that 72% are non-residents, and it's an increasing trend. It's increasing, okay? And once again, look at this blue. This blue is snorkeling. So what I'm trying to say is snorkeling is the #1 activity that people are doing when they drown, snorkeling. And once again, disregard this dip over here, because it's in it. Believe me, there was not a dip, but there's just some kind of technicality with the data. That's what it shows. That's why it's showing that dip. So, I wanted to show this because this is what our lifeguards do. It's called prevention and education. So in this slide, I like to say the lifeguard is saying, hey auntie, maybe not today you go in the water, not too safe today. But that's what they do. That's prevention and education. Very important. Very, very important. But this in the remote areas, we don't have lifeguards. And this is how people are drowning in remote areas, because a rogue wave like this washes them into the ocean. But here's the good news, because we have this rescue tube initiative. So last year, Rotary Club of Kihei Wailea signed an agreement with the county to install rescue tubes in South Maui and East Maui. And just last year, December, 1 month ago, the 3 Rotary clubs in West Maui, they joined together, they hooed together, and they signed an agreement with the county to install rescue tubes on West Maui. And what is a rescue tube? Basically, it's a flotation device that's mounted on a PVC pipe up at the high water mark, where a good Samaritan can grab it and either throw it to someone in distress or actually swim it out. And there are instructions printed right on the rescue tube, and the first instruction says, if you can't swim, do not use this device. Do not go in the water. That's the first instruction. It's very, very effective, as we will see. So it started on Kauai in 2008, but really the program actually began in 2009, and they have over 160 successful rescues with this rescue tube since, I'm going to say, 2009, okay? And the great part about this is the rescuer did not get injured. So initially, back in 2008, 2009, everyone was afraid about rescue tubes because they said, oh, what if the rescuer drowns, right? What if the rescuer drowns? But guess what? The rescuer has attached to them, there's a 10 feet strap that you just put over your shoulder. If the rescuer gets in trouble, guess what? He has the rescue tube to keep him afloat. Because that's why people drown. Not because they can't swim, they drown because they get exhausted swimming and they're panicking. So the rescue tube keeps them afloat until 911 is activated and the lifeguards come with their rescue watercraft and pick them up. So it's just a flotation device that's mounted on the high water mark 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. And it can keep up to 3 adults afloat. 3 adults. Calm. Strange. So this is a picture of a couple that got saved on Kauai. This is in 2013. This is Big Island. This is an off-duty firefighter. Actual footage of him that he pulled out 5 people in distress because there was a rescue tube there. This is the children of a father who the father used the rescue tubes to save their sons. And this happened in Kauai. And it's already happened on Maui too, which I'll get to. Here's an article in the Garden Island on Kauai, and basically there's a quote from the guy who was saved, and the quote was, "Once I got the rescue tube, I was able to relax," and that's why he was saved. So, where are the rescue tubes? Started on Kauai, let's say 2009, then it moved to Big Island, and then it moved to Maui and Oahu. So on the 3 islands, Maui, Kauai, and Big Island, Rotary Club is kind of taking the lead. On Oahu, it's the Lions Club. And that's, yeah, so the Oahu was the last island to come on board. So interesting data I want to just share with you. So this, remember how I said people was afraid the rescuer was going to drown? So prior to 2009, Kauai had what we call a double drowning. A double drowning is when the victim and the rescuer both drown. Okay? So that's a double drowning. So we're happy to report that since the rescue tubes has been involved, there's 0 double drownings. 0. Okay? So here's some data regarding the rescuer drowning. So if you look at over here, remember I said Kauai started the program, right? So in 1993 to 2000, the red is Kauai. Kauai alone had half the rescuers drown in the state of Hawaii. Half. Okay? Then we moved to the next timetable, 2001 to 2008. And remember the rescue tube program really got started in 2009. Look at Kauai, put in there. Look at that. They get 2/3 of all the double drownings in the state of Hawaii. But they started the rescue tube program in 2009, and guess look what happened. That's data, that's hard data for you. And I'm happy to report this one double drowning, rescue tube was not available on that call. They break it down in percentage. So from 60%, Kauai went down to, 13%, just because of the rescue tube. So here, oh, this one broke my heart when I saw this. So this was in 2015. 2015. This is a double drowning right here in our backyard, just past Honolulu. So here's a young couple just graduated from Maui High. They're friends. Female got washed in by a rogue wave. Good friend jumped in to save her. Both drowned. That's a double drowning. Here's another one. This just happened last year. Montana man saves daughter, but not himself. So father jumps in to save daughter. Daughter made it back. Father died. Father died. And here's just more articles. This is all from the local Maui news about just, and this is, there's so much. I just picked some about incidences where a rescue tube in this location would have made a difference. And more articles, and believe me, there's more articles. The good news, and right here you guys can see our senator, and here I believe is our representative right here. So just last year summer, the governor signed a bill taking away liability from the property owner and the Good Samaritan who uses the rescue tube. So prior to this legislation, there was hesitance from property owners to put rescue tubes, for people who live right there on the ocean. They didn't want it because they said, okay, if I put this tube and someone uses it and they drown, I don't want to get sued. So it's been an issue, and so just last year, the governor signed legislation to take liability away. So that's good news. And so the Rotary Club, the 3 Rotary Clubs on the west side, they have an agreement with the County of Maui. They're going to fund it, install it, and maintain it. So basically do everything. And these are all the county parks on the west side that they're going to do it. So you gotta thank the Rotary Club. The Rotary Club, they're the ones who's doing it. They're gonna. So, and is Mayor still here? Mayor? No, Mayor's gone. So you know how Mayor said, he wants something down at like a substation at Oluwalo, I believe he said. So this is why, that's great, because you think about it, what's happening right now, when there's an incident at Papalua, Ukumehane, that area. Okay, think about it. We're at the Lahaina Civic Center, right? Guess who's stationed at the Lahaina Civic Center? We got fire, we got police, we got the ambulance, and we got the lifeguards. They're all situated right here. Think about it. They're all right here. So when there's an incident way down by the Pali side, guess what? They have to drive all the way over there. They have to drive all the way over there. So that's why when the Rotary Clubs install these rescue tubes, the priority right now is going to be right here and right here, only because it's the farthest away from emergency response. It's farthest away. And I just like to end, let me see. Yeah, I just like to end what Joe was mentioning about our own backyard right over here, Pu'ukeka'a. It is the second highest drowning spot in the state of Hawaii. So if you go back 9 years, and the reason why, this is data up to 2017, or actually June, data up to 2017, because Data from the Department of Health is always 1 year back. So as of right now, we still do not have the data for 2018. We're still waiting on that. There's always a year back. So as of 2017, Pu'ukeka'a is the second most drowning spot in the state of Hawaii. Number one is Hanauma Bay on Oahu. So Hanauma Bay had 24 in 9 years. Guess how much Pu'ukeka'a had? 23, thank you. One less. And so now that was 9-10 year data. So then what they did was they condensed the data to 5 years. And we still came in number 2, and Hanauma Bay was still number 1. Hanauma Bay had, I believe, was 15, and Pu'ukeka'a had 14. So we're still number 2. So that's something this community needs to address to get funding for lifeguards at Pu'ukeka'a.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Colin. Well, you know, I'm glad Tamara's here. She's got ocean safety experience, he knows that. I went to school with Tetsuya Masaki, he's the general manager of the Sheraton at the UH, and he said his hotel is willing to supply and pay for a lifeguard tower there. All we got to do is get the budget, the county to staff it. Hallelujah. So that's something that hopefully will happen this year. We shouldn't be the second highest drownings. Tamara also gave me this thing that she wanted to remind everybody the County of Maui is having a historic preservation plan, phase 1, historic open house at Lahaina Open House Tuesday, January 22nd from 7 to 9 p.m. at the Kamehameha 3rd Cafeteria from 7 to 9 p.m. Tuesday, January 22nd. You can learn more at MauiHistoricPreservationPlan.com. So I'll make sure you do that. And I saved the latest for the last. If those of you who've been members a long time, you know that we're not all about taxes, but taxes are important. Our name was Maui Taxpayers Association. We thought we should change it to something else, but we haven't come up with something better yet. Although, who knows, maybe we will. Oh, before, I just saw you, we have an earring that was lost. Those of you look behind Pete Denny's, lost this earring that's matching this. If you look down from by you and to see if you can find this earring that matches, that would be great. Okay. So we do it all, lost and found. We're about taxes also. You know, we want to know about taxes. We want to know we get the best bang for our buck. If you go to our website, westmaui.org, you'll always see that we post an article by Tom Yamachika, president of the Tax Foundation of Hawaii. Just love his insight and his ability, what they do, the Tax Foundation work. We're members of them, and he's got an interesting presentation. He flew from Oahu to be with us here tonight, and we saved the best for last in that sense. Tom Yamachika, president of the Tax Foundation of Hawaii. Tom, would you come up? Give him a big hand.
Thank you, Joe, and thank you for being in existence for 40 years. That's a very long time for your organization. And I need a clicker, and there it is. Okay, great. Okay, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about what our organization does, and then what Maui has been doing in terms of things that have been happening in the tax landscape. We are all about publicizing developments in taxes, and you know everybody pays taxes, so it really is relevant for everybody. What we try to do is, you know, we're trying different things to get our message out, and this is our latest initiative. This is the Hawaii Tax Watchdoggy, together with his wife and kid. So, so we have you know the tweets that come out that match our articles that get posted up every week, and then sometimes we have some bonus tweets when some newsworthy items come in. So if you are interested in what is going on in real time, at Hawaii Tax is our Twitter site, and you will see the Hawaii Tax Watchdoggy. Now, keep these three in mind because they're going to come up later to prove a point about what's been happening on Maui and some of the cases there. Okay, and of course, you're all also welcome to visit our main website, tfhawaii.org, and we get like maybe 40,000 hits a month. So it's a good source of information. Sometimes our articles don't make it into Honolulu Civil Beat. I think a lot of you may be following us on Honolulu Civil Beat, but not everything gets posted. Not everything makes the Maui news. But all the stuff that we do is on our site, so please check it out. One thing that we've been doing this year, or well, actually starting last year in particular, is we've been doing what's called friend of the court activity. So when there are important tax cases in the courts, we weigh in, not on behalf of any particular party, but just to uphold the integrity of the tax system. And we've got some cases that came up last year, all of which involved Maui. Probably the most famous of them was Four Counties versus Igi, which was our ballot question. The ballot question about the property tax for that HSTA, that the teachers union was pushing, and the question that was on the ballot was about a surcharge on investment property to support public education, whatever those meant. Okay. What actually was going on was they wanted a surcharge on property tax. So, based on last year's numbers for the legislation that was introduced the year before the ballot measure, they wanted a $7.50 per $1,000 of assessed valuation surcharge on these investment real properties, which is probably 2 or 3 times what you pay at the residential rate. So these are not small numbers, and that's what they wanted. And they wanted it to support public education, but that would have been questionable because yes, the so-called surcharge would raise money, right? And that money would go into a pot that's dedicated to public education, but it didn't say anything about the $2 billion that was already going to public education from the general fund. So it would be very easy for legislators to repurpose some of that existing $2 billion to other stuff. So there was no guarantee whatsoever that enactment of this surcharge would have supported publication at all. And that is kind of why the counties were objecting to the ballot measure being unfair and deceptive, and we decided to weigh in as well. Okay, we and a coalition of 14 other parties went in on this amicus brief and said, yeah, we think this ballot question is unfair and deceptive. Primarily, and we said, because this thing imposes a tax and doesn't tell the voters that. If the measure said, hey, you're voting on a tax, you want to vote yourself a tax, you vote yes or no, that's fine. You want to vote yourself a tax? Fine, go for it. That's what democracy is all about. But if you're going to pull the wool over their eyes, we got a problem with that. And that ultimately is what the Supreme Court decided. The Supreme Court said, well, this is an invalid ballot question. It's unfair, deceptive, and voters are not going to understand what the heck is going on. So down went the measure, and by the way, they counted the votes anyway, and it was like about 2-1 against it. Okay. There's an interesting case called Kahiava Wind Power. And this involves, like, you know, the windmills up there on the ridge that I just passed, getting here. But this is the second time that an issue with real property tax on the windmills has come up. Okay, so the first time, which was before this case, the Real Property Tax Division here on Maui wanted to tax the windmills, saying it's real property. And the windmill company said, no, it's machinery. It's not real property. And the court said, well, under the ordinance and the definition of what real property is, and that definition has been existing forever, it's not real property. So, I guess the county didn't like losing. So they changed the law. And the red in this slide over here indicates what changed in the law. So they said, number one, we are going to tax something as real property if it increases the value to real property. And number two, we're going to tax windmills, period. So there. The question is, can they do that? Now, we all know the state has taxing authority, but when you get to a government other than the state, they got to have taxing power that's derived from someplace else. So either the state gives them the taxing authority, or we the people, through our state constitution, give them the taxing authority. In this case, taxing authority came from the state constitution, which was amended after the '78 Con to give the counties the power to tax real property. And the question then becomes, okay, does that include the power to redefine real property? And let me illustrate how, you know, what can happen if you let them do that. Is this real property? This is a home security system. It increases the value of the underlying property, right? So, under this ordinance, isn't it going to be real property? It increases the value of the underlying real property. The only difference is that it's not powered by Miko, it's powered by dog food. So clearly somebody's got to keep the county in line. Okay, I mean the position that's kind of been taken in this case is kind of interesting, and we really need to kind of put some limits on how they can stretch and bend the definition of real property to suit their needs. There's another case called In Re Ocean Resort Villas. You may have heard about Ocean Resort Villas. They're a kind of big timeshare resort on Maui. They didn't like the timeshare classification that was written into the real property tax statutes, ordinances, and so they sued to invalidate it. Now, the interesting thing, or maybe mean-spirited, or I don't know how you characterize it, but what happened in this case was the county kind of took a look at the Ocean Resort Villas parcels, and they said, well, hey, this is very interesting because for the 7th, 6th, and 5th year before ORV filed suit, they said, we have an issue because in 2006, 2007, and 2008, we assessed the master parcels, and which at the time that's what they did, and the association paid the tax, right? And the county said, okay, if you have a situation where we have omitted property, okay, we don't have a statute of limitations. And we didn't assess the individual units, we assessed the master parcel. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to assess all of the individual units in ORV, even though they assessed the master parcel and the association paid all the taxes on the master parcel. And so, okay, we'll give you a credit for the taxes that the association paid. But you owe us $10 million, and you need to pay it in 30 days. True story, okay? This is what happened. Now, this went before Judge Cahill on the Second Circuit Court, and he just threw the book at him. He was so incensed. He said not only did the county violate their constitutional rights, because, by the way, they didn't assess anybody else. They only assessed ORV because they sued the county. I mean, because ORV sued the county. So, clear case of retaliation. Okay, if you're a taxing agency and you want to back assess somebody, you have to be even-handed. Okay, you can't just nail somebody because they're suing you. But that's what these guys did. And they explained it in writing, because once ORV got hit, obviously people were concerned that their association was going to hit too, right? But the county said no, we're not going to assess any. We're just going to assess these jokers because they sued us. That's what they said. And if you got a constitutional lawyer looking at that, the constitutional lawyer would go, oh my God, what did these guys just say? So this is on appeal right now, and we've weighed in as well, the foundation. And if you want to see, some of the interesting documents in this case, we have them all on our website. And we also did a 4-part series in our weekly commentary article, which by the way Civil Beat did not run because they thought it's a little too too narrow in focus. So they didn't run it, but it's on our website. Four articles. If you want to read them, it's there. So that's it for the court cases likely to come at the legislature this year. I've talked to the money chairs, and they said, we're looking for money. Okay, what does that mean? It means we are going to have revenue raises to be considered, i.e. new taxes. Okay, one of them is a carbon tax. A carbon tax is something like the gas tax, but it applies to use of fuels not only for internal combustion engines on the roads, okay, but also whenever the fuel is burned. So if you're running a power plant, okay, or if you're operating farm machinery, you don't have liability for fuel tax now, but under this you will. Okay, where is the money going to go? It's going to go to the state. Okay, so if the county is expecting part of this, they may not get it. So that's one of the issues that's going to come up at the legislature. We know it's going to be introduced. Senator Rhodes said he's going to introduce it. How far it'll get, we don't know. Recreational marijuana, not medicinal marijuana, but recreational marijuana. That's been put forth this year as one of the top tier priorities of the Democratic Party. Okay, so they say they're going to be working on it. Whether the legislators are going to be acting on it, we don't know. You had a question?
Well, it's kind of confusing because, first of all, recreational marijuana is not allowed in the state and it is a federal So how can you tax something? Do you really think somebody recreational is gonna say, hey, no, I'm smoking?
And the question from the audience was, can you do this? I mean, can you make
My question was,
recreational marijuana legal, given that it's prohibited on the Federal side?
yeah, it's prohibited, and also it's recreational, and it's against the law in the state of Hawaii, so. how can
Yeah,
you
it's-
tax
it's-
something that's against the law, both in the state and federal government?
Well, it's against the law now.
Oh,
Okay,
this is for-
but the state could change that. And some states, in fact, have changed the law. Colorado, for example, I think California just did it, or was it Nevada? Both, okay. And there are a few other states that have legalized marijuana for, non-medicinal purposes. They wanna basically legalize it and tax it. Okay, this is to grab the money. Okay, how far it's going to get, we don't know, but it's been proposed. Okay, the tax office wants some administrative changes. There's currently a mechanism to do tax appeals if you're fighting with the state about your tax bill. There's now something called the Board of Review that used to be popular as an appellate body, a few years ago, but now look what's happened. I mean, nobody's there. Okay, you need 3 people to constitute a Board of Review, and that's the panel size is normally 5, so 3 is a quorum, which is more than half. Kauai has nobody. Oahu has 1. Okay, Maui has 2 and 1 holdover, so you may have a board, we don't know. And Big Island, does have a quorum, but it's the only island that does. So the Department of Tax is going to try to change the system. We don't know what they want. We've heard that they want to change it to something that's similar to what happens at the Department of Labor now. And so we'll be taking a look at that very closely. But that's kind of a preview of what's happening. The legislature has just opened, so we're just starting to take a look at the bills that have been introduced, and we'll be watching them very closely. So, so thank you very much for your time and attention.
Thank you very much, Tom. So, we're, the reason I wanted this this is very important stuff. We've got a lot of things we're working on. The state of Hawaii is got some interesting things coming up and being proposed that is going to impact us all. I'm really glad we got Roz and Angus here to represent us on the West Maui. They've been doing a great job. But our work is cut out for us. I urge you to consider supporting the Tax Foundation. We do, and our West Maui taxpayers. They're doing a great job for all of us. Thank you all for, you stayed all the way to the end through all this. Thank you so much. Give yourselves a big hand. Join us and keep fighting the good fight of faith. We're going to make this the best, continue to make Maui no Kauai. Thank you so much. God bless and aloha. All right, final thank yous. I want to thank Akaku and Tim Wolf, our sound guy and audio guy, and Akaku for the great job they did. Did you find your earring? Did nobody turn in your earring? Oh my goodness. Well, if you're on your way out, if you're looking around, maybe when we clean up, we might find it. Thank you all. God bless you and good night.